Hello, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again. Oh, it's been a long while since I did any sort of vlog type video, Happy Mail or otherwise. And recently, Crystal from Bag a Day, she started a 10 questions video, and I was tagged. And actually, from what I gather, I was actually tagged by 3 people. It could be more, I don't know, but I did see 3 people. It was Rose Likes Crochet, thank you, Rose, and Scraptastic Yarns, thank you, and the Crafty Goddess as well. Thank you so much for including me so that I could participate in this. Thank you for tagging me, and thank you, Crystal, for starting this. I love these videos because it's a great way for us to get to know each other as fellow crafters, stitchers, whether it's knitting, crocheting, just yarn lovers in general. It's so much fun, isn't it? So, as always, I hope all of you are having a really great day and that you're all nice and happy and healthy. Yep. And so, without further ado, let's get to the questions, shall we? All right. And I wrote them all down. So, the first question is, what is your favorite color of yarn? Green. Easy answer for me. Green. I love green. Now, for me, it would be a green that exists within nature. So you're talking olive or sage or moss, that kind of green. Kelly green is the very, very strong exception to that rule. Kelly green is so, to me, it's so unnatural. It's like a leprechaun ate something that disagreed with him, and that was the result. I do not like Kelly green. And I'm part Irish, so I know that goes against my DNA, but I am not a fan of Kelly green. But I love green. Yes. Also, runners up for that, I would say, would be autumnal earth tones, like this pumpkin spice colored hat. Pumpkin, mustard, rust, charcoal, even eggplant, or sort of like a burgundy merlot. Think think of the colors of the original Tom Baker Doctor Who scarf, not the crazy later episodes, but like the early Tom Baker scarf. Love those. Yes. So anything autumnal. Um, think the fall. Think a walk through the woods in the fall. Any of those colors, love those. Um, I mean, I love all colors. I'm not biased entirely. I mean, if you want to say blue, okay, give me like a denim blue or like a country blue, like Red Heart Super Saver has a country blue. I love that blue. Um, purples, nice rich purples, a plum, an eggplant, red, like a burgundy or a merlot color, like a wine type of color. Um, just natural colors, if you will. But green's the way to go. And I know that's a very long and protracted answer for a very simple question, but I'm a man with my own little tastes. What can I say? So the next question number 2, is what is your favorite weight of yarn? Typically, I would say a weight of 4, worsted weight of 4, because that's what I use a lot of in a lot of my projects. So I would say 4 and thinner. Yes, weight of 5, not so much. It's great if you have the yardage and if you need to make a project in a hurry. Yeah, it's great. But the vast majority of weight of 5 and up yarns that I've seen, you don't get the yardage in the skein. So what you save on time, you end up spending on getting more yarn because you don't get the yardage. That's just my personal experience and opinion. So I would say weight of 4, weight of 3. I do love a good weight of 3, like say mandala or ice cream or something like that. I do like a weight of 3. Finer than that, it depends on the project. Sock weight, uh, lace weight. Yeah, those are really nice too. So typically I would say 3 and 4, roughly speaking. Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite style of yarn? I would say a typical worsted where it's clean. I call it a clean yarn where it doesn't have crazy foof going on all over the place because I like to see my stitches. Now, some of the art yarns, yeah, they're fun, they're funky, but I like a nice, clean yarn, just it is what it is. It's yarn. I mean, you've got like a nice, couple of plies, typically 4 for me, and it's yarn. When you have all the fluff going on, yeah, it looks great. It feels awesome. It's got a great texture, but if you're crocheting, you can't see the stitches. Or if you're trying to frog it, it won't frog because all the fibers are all interlocked. I go with ease over aesthetics. Back way back when I was working with like, homespun type yarns and that sort of thing. And it was really hard for me because I couldn't find the stitches. And a lot of people, when they're first starting off, they want to use the funky yarns, the faux furs and that sort of thing. And there's an appeal to them, but they're not user friendly, especially for beginners. When you have more experience, also, those yarns are really great if you are knitting because all of your stitches are trapped on the needle as opposed to you have to sort of hunt and peck and find them, which can be a little frustrating. Roving is nice too if it is not too loose. I do like roving, but the problem is that it can pull apart if you're not careful. If there isn't enough, if there isn't a sufficient enough twist in it. Chain plied yarn, it's neat, but I think it's kind of distracting from, say, stitch definition. It creates a cool texture if that's what you're going for, but just give me a nice, clean, straightforward, worsted, kind of yarn. I have simple tastes sometimes. I don't have simple answers, but I have simple tastes. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, so question number 4. What is your favorite fiber of yarn? Again, not a simple answer because it depends. Now, my favorite fiber of yarn to buy or work with, on average, I would say acrylic, definitely, because it is cost effective. Not only is it economical, it's also very easy to care for. Also, it's readily available in any brick and mortar store. You can find acrylic yarn in a brick and mortar store. The more extravagant the fiber, the harder it is to find and the more expensive it is, and the harder it is to care for. So, offhand, I would say hands down acrylic. Now, in a perfect world, where money is not an issue and care is not an issue, I would say probably alpaca or merino. Yes, I love merino, definitely. If it's a superwash, then yeah, the caring is not that difficult, but cost-wise, that's kind of a deterrent. So if money were no object and care were no object, I would say alpaca and merino. But as far as me with the sheer volume of projects that I keep having to pump out and produce, I would say acrylic. Next question. All right, so what is your favorite brand of yarn that you can get easily within your country? I have a couple, but I would say off the top of my head, Lion Brand. Yes. And I would say that's because the vast majority of my projects within the past couple of years, I would say, are a lot of Lion Brand yarn projects. Pound of Love, Mandala, ice cream big scoops. I use those so often. Why? The yardage. You get a good amount of yardage for what what you're buying and what you're paying for. I do like that very, very much. There are pros and cons to everything, but I do those three are, I would say, staples of mine. The Ferris wheel, love the Ferris wheel. The yardage, it needs more. It needs more yardage, but the colorways are tremendous. Um, Other runners up, I would say Red Heart and Karen. Love those brands because they are very easily accessible. So those three brands, for me, those are the most accessible in the stores that I go to, which I will go into later. So I would say, as far as Red Heart, I would say Super Saver and Ombre. Those are the ones that I use most. As far as Red Heart goes, as far as Karen, I would say uh, the Karen cakes, definitely. I use those, fairly enough. Um, Now, as far as like pros and cons and so on and so forth, so like with Karen, I'm not a fan of Simply Soft, and I'm not a fan of 1 pound. I've used them. I've used them plenty. Like for instance, the say the Simply Soft, it's almost slick. It's almost too slick, almost oily, but it's not greasy, but it's too slick, and then also it splits. Karen 1 pound, you get the yardage, but it's very coarse. It's very stiff. Um, but the Karen cakes, love the Karen cakes. Don't get me wrong. I love the colorways. I love the variety of the different color Karen cakes. Love those. Then you have Red Heart. The price is right. The yardage is good. No dye lots. The ombre, yes, there are dye lots, but those are also very accessible for me. So I do love those two brands for those. As far as Lion Brand, Red Heart, it's a staple of mine, definitely. Mondoa, I love the variety of colorways. And then, of course, you have the ice cream big scoops. You get the yardage, you get a nice variegated, and it's all acrylic. All of the yarns that I mentioned just now, they're all acrylic. So they're very easy to work with, very easy to care for. So those are my three top brands, but Lion Brand being on the top of that list. Again, a really long and protracted answer for a simple question, but I'm verbose. I can't help it. All right, let's keep going. Question number 6. What is your favorite store online? This is probably going to be one of the shortest answers that I can give you. I really don't have one because I don't do a lot of online shopping, to be perfectly frank. I have very limited experience with online shopping because when I want yarn, I want it then and there. I have a little bit of experience with ice yarns. Their selection is great. Their prices are great for what you're getting. The shipping is a bit steep, though. I mean, granted, it's coming from Turkey, but yeah, the shipping, that's where they get you. As far as their inventory and their prices, they're awesome, definitely. I've done a bit of business with buying wool roving from the woolery. No problems, no qualms, no complaints whatsoever. They're very good on their shipping. It's very, very prompt. I will say that. It's not yarn, it's roving that I'm getting, but I do like that very much. I haven't done spinning in forever. I haven't made any yarn in a very, very long time, and I regret that, but I've been busy. That's pretty much it. I did get a mystery bag from Mary Maxim. That was okay. But yeah, I really don't have a lot of experience as far as online yarn shopping. So most of my stuff is brick and mortar, which leads us to the next question. What is your favorite brick and mortar? Well, I've got 3, 4 stores as far as experience goes. Michael's, Joann's, Walmart, and Hobby Lobby. Those are the only stores. I do like the idea of the the local yarn shops where it's specifically a yarn shop. However, my personal experience has not been good with local yarn shops. I'm not downplaying local yarn shops, it's just my experience has not been very good. Either it's extremely pricey, it's specialty items, it's stuff that you need to have a credit reference and a second mortgage to pay for, very, very expensive. Um, or the atmosphere in those stores, and again, my experience is limited. The experience that I had is that I was not welcome. Yeah. There is one store in particular. Now, this store I went into a few times years ago, before I, way before YouTube. And I went in there and I was browsing around and I was being snubbed because I guess because I am a guy and it's not typically a guy craft. Things have changed since then. Um, and I was given the cold shoulder, like I just did not belong there. And I was like, okay, regardless, you should be welcoming people in as a proprietor. You should be asking, do you need help? Can I help you with something? Are you interested in making something in particular? And then, say, hi, how are you? Can I help you? No? Okay, well, I'll be here if you have any questions. That would have been nice. It didn't happen. So I've never been back. There is something to be said for customer service. As far as the other stores, Michael's, it's very convenient. It's very near to where I live, so I do go there. So that's, I would say, the top of my list. Walmart, there's one just down the street from where I work, so that's also at the top of my list. Joann's, not so much because it's a distance thing. Hobby Lobby, it's very much a distance thing. But yeah, I would say, again, long answer. Uh, I would say Michael's and Walmart. Um, and ironically, they're both good for different kinds of yarns. Um, because at Walmart I can find Mondawa, which I can't find at Michael's. Pound of Love I can find at Michael's, but not at Walmart. Um, Whatever works, sometimes you just gotta hunt and peck. But out of the local stores, I would say Michael's and Walmart, especially because the prices are right. And as far as Michael's, you can always get a coupon and they have sales going on all the time. And then as far as Walmart, it's accessible and it's already relatively inexpensive. And they do have, I think it's called Mainstays. Haven't worked much with that, but yeah, it works. Anyway, on to the next one. All right, next question. We have, do you keep scrap yarn? If so, what do you make? I used to. I used to hoard my scraps of yarn like nobody's business. It was like a little kitten's dream come true. And yes, I would save bags and bags and bags of scraps of yarn. Even if the scrap of yarn was, like 6 inches, 12 inches long, I would save it because then I would tie all those scraps together and I would make a scrappy scarf or something to that effect. Within the past couple of years, not so much. Even if it's a small leftover ball of yarn, typically I don't save those either. What I usually do is I end up, if it's not a full skein, but it's a ball of yarn, typically what I do is I throw all of that into large bags, large plastic bags, and I give them to people that I know, usually coworkers, because I've got a lot of coworkers that are stitchers. And so I just fill up a bag and say, have at thee, do what you will, enjoy. That way they're happy, they're getting free supplies, and I'm happy because I can clear out some room for some fresh skeins. But there are so many uses for scraps. I'm at a loss for time. as far as dealing with, organizing and so on and so forth with all the scraps. So typically I give them to people that I know, where I can just load up a couple of bags in my car, bring them to work, and say, here you go. So that's what I usually do with my scraps. Okay, so now we're getting into tricky territory. What is your favorite thing to crochet or knit? Oh, Crystal, it's a tricky question. Very, very tricky question. But favorite thing to crochet or knit? Uh, Honestly, I would say at this point in my experience, I would say my favorite thing, ironically, because I don't wear them, shawls. Yeah. I only really started making shawls when I started this channel. Um, but I love them because they're so versatile, because it's not just a scarf where it's typically a strip of stitching, like a really long swatch. Shawls, they can be very organic. It doesn't have to be necessarily a triangle. It could be um, more of a rectangular wrap, or it could be a crescent shape, or a full circle, or a half circle. Shawls, they're fun. They can be functional, they can be decorative. You can, knit them, crochet them, they could be lacy, they could be solid. There's a lot of versatility there. So I would say shawls. Yeah. Um, and I know I've been encouraged to just, wear a shawl out and rock it and flaunt it and have fun. I haven't quite gotten there yet. We live in moderately liberal times, but I don't think we're there yet. I mean, if I lived in Greenwich Village in the city, oh, sure, that would, I think that would be great. I don't, so I won't. But yeah, between knitting as well as crocheting, I think those are my favorites because there's so much versatility as far as the different stitches, as well as the different styles and shapes, whether it's knitted or crocheted. In fact, I'm currently working on a knitted shawl right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Um, you'll see it at some point, I'm sure. Um, I would say number two, blankets. Yeah, because regardless of age or gender, everybody needs a blanket. But I think that shawls are just a lot of fun. So I think that's my favorite thing to knit as well as crochet at the moment. Answers, all of these answers, by the way, are subject to change. All right, so now for the last question, and of course it's the most difficult. If you could crochet or knit one last thing for the rest of your life ad infinitum, what would it be? And what yarn would you use? Mm. That is tricky. That is very tricky. That is very difficult. And oh, ow. I know it's painful for me because I love variety. I love choices and options, and I love mixing things up and working on 17 million projects all at the same time. Urgh. Okay, if I had to choose, I would say maybe a granny square blanket. That's the first thing really that comes to mind. Um, because it's functional and you can do a lot with it, whether it's one big granny square or a lot of granny squares all, you know, connected together in a number of ways, and you can do a lot with color and so on and so forth. Um, and for any of you that have been following me for any length of time, know that I love the granny stitch. It's my favorite because it's quick, it's easy, you can go on autopilot and have sort of a zenful, mindful moment. Um, and I love the granny stitch. I do. It's one of the first stitches that I totally fell in love with, and I still do umpteen gajillion projects with that stitch regularly. Yep. So I would say Granny Stitch Blanket. Um, and when I first thought about this question, I was like, wait a minute, I can only make one. I can't keep making them. Um, and then I thought about it's like, all right, well, what if I'm knitting something and then somebody's pulling the tail and unraveling it as I'm knitting it so that I never finish? Sort of like that. I think it was a Greek. I think it was a Greek myth where there was a woman. I think it was Odysseus's wife that was weaving a tapestry, and she would keep undoing it every night because when she finished it she was supposed to marry somebody, but she kept undoing the weaving so that she would never have to finish it. That's kind of my thinking. Please, for anybody that knows, correct me if I'm totally wrong on the sort of thing that I'm alluding to. I could be totally off. It's been a long time since I studied this in school, but so that's what I would say. I would say a granny square type blanket. As far as yarn, I would say Pound of Love. Yeah, I like the softness. I like the colors. I wish they had a larger variety of colors, but they've gotten better. They have. They have definitely gotten better. Um, since when they first started, where it was just baby pastels, they've come a long way, but they could go a little bit further. But I give them credit for introducing other colors as well. So, yeah, Pound of Love, Granny Square Blanket. These answers are subject to change, but so be it. All right, so now that I am finally at the end of my 10 questions, thank you for bearing with me. I hope you found this interesting and informative. Um, so, as far as tagging other people, okay, I got a small list here. Okay. By the way, before I read them, if I haven't said your name, leave your comments in the comments section down below to any or all of these questions. What would you do? Like what's your favorite this, that, and the other? Yeah, I'm curious to hear all of your answers. So first off, the Crochet Witch, Linda Waddell, Brenda the Newbie Crocheter, Linda Just a Crochet Sister, Homemade with Love by Loretta and Blaine, and Natalie's Closet. Tag, you're it. I know it's a fairly extensive list, but I have all these people in my subscription list, and I thought, what would they say? So, the Crochet Witch, Linda Waddell, or Waddle, I'm sorry, Brenda, the Newbie Crocheter, Linda, Just a Crochet Sister, Homemade with Love by Loretta and Blaine, and Natalie's Closet, you're it. You've been tagged. So to those of you that are watching that also watch those channels, please go over there and tell them that Fiber Spider says, hey, answer your 10 questions. I did, and I spent how long, going over all these answers. I know, I they're long answers, they're verbose, but I have a lot of opinions when it comes to yarn and what you do with said yarn because I spend the vast majority of my waking hours stitching. No joke. Mm-hmm. And I that's because I enjoy it. I love it, and I'm so glad that so many of you do too. And so again, yes, whether I've said your name or not, yeah, in the comments section down below, what are your answers to the questions? I'm very interested because I might find that it's like, oh, there's a new type of yarn I haven't tried. That might be interesting, or a new online store. I would like to become better versed in some online shopping. That would be fun. And yeah, so listen, everybody. Again, thank you to Rose Likes Crochet, Scraptastic Yarns, and Crafty Goddess for tagging me. Thank you, Crystal, for opening up this sort of chain letter of videos. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for that, Crystal. And so listen, guys, until next time, you know what to do. Stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a good day.